After a San Luis Obispo consignment store closed its doors in May, former employees and customers have come forward saying the owner owes them a lot of money. Bankruptcy documents filed by the owner herself show she is nearly $370,000 in debt. Some of that is owed to former consignors. KSBY News reporter Megan Healy is live with this KSBY investigation. Megan?
Well, Richard, Timeless Treasures Home Consignments did business in San Luis Obispo for nearly 3 years, but after the shop closed suddenly, more than 20 consignors tell me they never got paid and they never got their items back.
This is a Christian Lassen painting, a limited edition. So we have the painting, the signature, and the number of the limited edition.
When this man brought in his high-dollar art to Timeless Treasures Home Consignments in San Luis Obispo, he expected to strike gold. Instead, the transaction left Milton Davis without a penny or a painting. Now it appears his options for collecting his nearly $300 in cash are drying up.
We are closed for our moves now from Tuesday through May 15th.
The recording on Timeless Treasures voicemail informs callers the shop will reopen. It comes after the landlord evicted Timeless Treasures owner Andrea Bowengartner in May for owing more than $40,000 in back rent.
When the store did not reopen is when I started to get antsy about it.
Each consignor signed a contract. Now, in that contract, it says that your item is held for 60 days. For example, if you brought in your item into the store January 1st, it would stay there until March 1st. If it hasn't sold after the 60 days, then you have 15 days to pick it up from the store. So in this case, still, you'd have to pick it up by March 16th. If you don't pick it up after the 15 days, then it becomes the property of Timeless Treasures, and they can sell or donate it at their discretion. Davis is one of several people who took to social media to see if others felt left in the dark.
Where they were, if they had been lost in the mail, or asking about why their check bounced.
Former employee Ann Walker says she could not answer those questions about consignor checks. She quit, she says, after going several weeks without pay.
It built up until there was 3.5 months of back pay.
After she quit, Walker says she did get paychecks from her boss, but each one bounced.
It became very clear that I wasn't going to get the money from her in that way, even though I held out hope that I would be. So I knew I needed to seek legal action in some way.
Walker has a pending complaint with the state of California's Labor Commission. In the bankruptcy filing, Bowengartner names more than 50 companies, agencies, and people she owes money to. This man is no longer one of them.
I acted early on. I felt like if I didn't take the action to collect my money while her business was open, then I was never going to get my money.
Former Timeless Treasure investor John Doherty says he put $16,000 into the business. 2 years, 2 lawsuits, and several court dates later, he got 10 grand back. Court documents obtained by KSBY News show Bowengartner is now filing for Chapter 7 bankruptcy. Doherty calls it a delay tactic to paying her debts.
What makes this different than our traditional or sort of typical consumer complaint is the number of complainants.
San Luis Obispo County Assistant District Attorney Eric Dobroth confirms the state has charged Bowengartner with 2 felonies and 1 misdemeanor count for writing bad checks.
We're incorporating the non-sufficient fund aspect into the investigation, but primarily it's folks didn't get their items back and folks didn't get their money.
But this isn't the first time Bowengartner's been called into court. Allegations of financial and legal misconduct go back nearly 2 decades.
There's a high likelihood that similar conduct has occurred in other jurisdictions.
In 2005, Bowengartner owned a pair of consignment stores called The Wood Shop in Northern California. A Sacramento man, Aaron Parker, still remembers doing business with her back then, sharing what has become a familiar story.
We heard nothing from the store, from the other store. Then I got really nervous and I went to that facility, and then they were closed as well and they were empty. And there was no sign on the door this time. They were just gone.
The bankruptcy court filing we obtained shows Bowengartner's debt adds up to nearly $370,000. Angry and empty-handed, these people say it's about time for Timeless Treasures to pay the price. In court today, Bowengartner pleaded not guilty to charges of writing bad checks. Her case goes before a judge again on December 4th. Now, I reached out to Bowengartner and her attorneys multiple times, and they did not follow up for an interview. Bowen Gardner's personal attorney told me she does not comment on pending cases other than to say that her client is not guilty. Reporting live in studio, I'm Megan Healy, KSBY News.
All right, Megan. In the interest of full disclosure, in 2017, Bowen Gardner and KSBY were involved in litigation over an advertising dispute. That matter was settled.